For more than 6 years Elizabeth grappled daily with severe urethral burning, absolute pain and a constant, urgent need to go to the bathroom, which felt like someone was pressing on her stomach. When the Brisbane woman first started experiencing the symptoms in late 2014, she believed it was a clear-cut urinary tract infection, UTI, a common infection 1 in 2 women will experience in their lifetime. But her UTI went undiagnosed despite repeated tests, leaving her suffering and in agony. And according to experts, this is not an isolated case. Read more. Common UTIs risk turning into killer infections. Have you, or someone you know, struggled with UTIs or antibiotic resistance? Contact Rafaela on Rashkareli at 9.com.au. Elizabeth, now 31, claims the medical system failed her, explaining she went to a GP when her symptoms first started to get antibiotics. My GP did put me on a course of antibiotics, but looking back I think it was too short because the symptoms briefly got better, but when I stopped, it came back. I went to several doctors because frankly I didn't believe the test results. I even went to emergency a couple times. They were all telling me I didn't have one. I had doctors that were like, "You sure you're not imagining it?" They looked at me like I was crazy. Read more. Nurse urges people not to ignore symptoms after cancer diagnosis. Instead, Elizabeth was slapped with the diagnosis of interstitial cystitis, a chronic condition also known as bladder pain syndrome. There is no cure, instead pain symptoms have to be managed. My life was very depressing, I just suffered, thinking I had this thing, she said. I saw so many urologists, at least 4 at one point. They did all sorts of treatments. At times they would make the symptoms worse. I've got photos from the inside of my bladder at one point and it was bleeding, you could see the blood was dripping down. Later a urologist said all 4 quadrants of the bladder were inflamed and there were pinpricks of blood. You could physically see there was something going on. Explained, what are your chances of getting COVID-19 more than once? The pain was so constant Elizabeth stopped working, she stopped going to the gym and drives on bumpy roads were tear-inducing in their agony. Her condition took a turn for the worse at the end of 2020. Things got really bad, to the point I had a fever, I was throwing up, she said, explaining the pain was so intense she felt like she had been kicked in the kidney. Elizabeth was rushed to hospital. In a crowded waiting room she was told her urine test had again come back clear. She was sent home. Over a week her condition deteriorated, until her husband forced her back to the doctors.